it's usually a pair of earbuds or just straight at an
Oh,
iPhone.
the
And
worst.
then the post editing for me is just like listening, click, 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 do a filter, click, 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 click. It's a lot of fun. So but thanks for being on. I think this is going to be an interesting conversation because I've been following your stuff for a while, but it was about I would say actually it's longer than that. That I really started because I started when I came to Canada. I started at Moxie's of all things. I was at
Right.
Moxie for 3 years,
Yeah.
3 years as the assistant general manager here in Victoria,
Yeah.
and it really opened my eyes to macro brands, the franchises, the systems they have in place and stuff,
Yeah.
which I kind of feel a lot of independence, like smaller SME sort of style venues are like, oh no, we can't be like franchise. I'm like, yeah, but their systems and their specs and their inventory systems and stuff are pretty on point. That's why they are who they are. So why would you
Exactly.
adapt to that? And I feel like I still exist in my little micro niche of cocktail bars and high end places, whereas you sort of delve into everywhere else.
Yeah.
I love it when I go to like Restaurant Canada. I think Restaurant Canada in Toronto is a good example where all of us nerds, all our cocktail nerds, I've got a corner of this little tiny freaking room,
Yeah.
and then the massive pavilion looking after hotels and major restaurants and stuff. I'm like, and everybody's still puffing their chest out and sort of like walking around with a chip on their shoulder. I'm like, you guys understand that we've only got like not even 10, we've got 1% of this entire pavilion that people are coming to,
That's
mainly
right.
because there's alcohol here.
Yeah.
The rest of this is what we don't even touch on, like talking about ovens and restaurant design and kitchen design, stuff like that. Like, so I think it's going to be a great conversation because you sort of live in that bigger macro world. I sort of stay in my lane and do the craft spirits and the smaller cocktail people and stuff. So
Right.
I usually like to start the post shift off with just like an origin story. Like, how did you get your
Sure.
start? How long have you been in the industry for? What did you start off as?
I started as a baker actually when I was 16. So I went in and did my journeyman certification when I was 16, and then I went on from there. So it's grown for 35 years, and I've been a baker, a franchisee, a franchisor, a general manager, a consultant, a corporate chef, and corporate trainer, all through the many years. So I've touched on every corner of the operation.
How many years has it been now?
We're looking at 35 now. Yeah,
Wow.
altogether. Yeah, right from the first go. Yeah.
So when was it that you sort of obviously changed directions? Because I would class you in the same sort of category as myself now as a hospitality entrepreneur.
Mm.
When was that aha moment that grinding out in kitchens and grinding out in on the floor on a Friday night and stuff like that sort of got to a point where you were just like, this can be done better? Because I think we're going to go forward with it, but like,
Yeah.
where was that aha moment?
5 years ago, I'm a sucker for punishment, so I've gone in and still worked in the industry, and I own a franchise brand right now, which I've actually pulled and put on the shelf because of other projects. But the 5 years ago, I went into a pizza shop in Steveston in Richmond in Vancouver, and was talking with a fellow there. He and his wife had bought this pizza shop, and was having this conversation with him just about, hey, how's your day going? Hey, how's the place going? And he goes, he's just started telling me his story about, how he and his wife just bought the place, and how things were going. And about 20 minutes into it, he basically just almost like dropped the veil and took the mask off and said, he goes, Jay, I got to tell you something. He goes, I lied to you earlier. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't know this guy from Adam. I just met him. He goes, I got to tell you, he goes, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. He goes, I don't know where to order anything from properly. I don't know if I'm getting a good price. I don't know where to get anything repaired. I don't know what I'm doing. My wife and I have our life savings invested in this place. We bought it off some guys who had it for 7 years and ran it into the ground. Everything is broken. I have no idea where to turn. And in that moment, I went, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I mean, I could certainly call some people and help you. And then it occurred to me, why isn't there a network to help operators like this guy? right? He doesn't know anything about systems like we're talking about. He doesn't know, where to call to get, a good deal on anything. And he doesn't know who to trust to come and repair anything. So we started putting together a network of people, and so begat, at the time it was Hustle Hospitality Network, and we've rebranded into Real Hospitality Network, and now it's eight countries.
Do you think, I always talk about it, do you think that a lot of people outside the industry and inside the industry to a degree as well get into it for passion over business? And then of course what comes with passion is usually ego and pride, and that's why people, like as you said, like he was like, you're in 20 minutes in the conversation, then he was like, oh man, I've fucked up, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, do you think passion is such a massive driver that business is such a sort of like, oh, it'll just happen sort of mentality?
This is the thing. I mean, it's romantic to say that, I'm opening a restaurant, and the narrative is romanticism of it, right? So there's a certain air and a certain theater about it and all of that. But the behind the curtains, if you go behind the curtain of a theater, it's not all song and dance. You have to make sure that everything else is happening at the same time, right? As you well know. So people get lured in, I think, in many cases, and they think, well, we've got some money, or we've inherited some money, or we've got some credit, and we're going to go in some friends, and we all think it's a great idea, and then in many cases it all goes to hell because they don't know the mechanics behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm. Do you think when you were saying like dropping the veil, do you think that COVID and everything's happened with this? I've talked to a lot of chefs, restaurateurs. I think you've commented on a couple of posts that I've posted about it. Do you think this is an opportunity for us to really drop the veil and show the general public? Because I think the general public's still very clueless. Everybody thinks that they know what's going on because of Instagram and social media and stuff, but like our true vulnerability, like I've seen friends' places that have been around for 16 years shutting down in New York and San Francisco and stuff, and you're like, well, that's a multi-award winning bar. It's got huge brand equity, and they're shutting down because their landlord's being a dick about the lease.
Right.
Do you think that this is an opportunity for the hospitality industry to be truly vulnerable? Because I feel we all do it. Like we sit down with our accounts, and the accountant's like, well, we're not doing too well this month. But then like 2 hours later, you got service, and you're like, dun 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 dun. Hey, people, come on in, smiles and that sort of thing. So we sort of put on this fake, like you said, the theater.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's an opportunity for all of us to be more vulnerable in this situation?
I think the vulnerability is across all industries. I mean, we love to talk about our own industry because it's what we're in, but I think all industries are getting their ass beat right now. And we talk a lot about hospitality because it's our thing, but and people don't really know kind of how things work within our industry. They don't know how thin the margins are. They don't know, all of the different things. And I'll give you an example. When I'm teaching, I ask people, so who wants to open a restaurant? Lots of people put their hands up, and they say, oh, well, I say, what kind of a restaurant do you want to open? So we'll go through, and I can sit and put 30 different things as far as just to open the door. So all of the permits and all of the certificates and all of the tax things and all of the other stuff that you've got to pay all up front. This is all before you ever pick a paint color, right? So, and people don't understand that. And you can, and after I'm done writing on the board, I'll turn around and there's, 30 jaws dropped going, what? I had no idea. Now I don't want to do that. I want to go and do something else. And and it's because people don't know until they know. So there's so many different aspects of doing what we do that it's a million little things, right? Somebody told me a long time ago, operating a restaurant isn't knowing how to make a good pie or a good lasagna, but it's knowing how to do a million little things.
So you've gone from I think you just rebranded the Hustle Hospitality recently, like in the last 18 months, right?
Yeah, well, we had it as Hustle, and then we had the show, which is a bit about little over a year old. I guess it was a year old in April, May, and so the show Real Hospitality Live. And then I said, well, I kind of like the sound of the show more, and let's rebrand it into Real Hospitality. And of course, it just spoke to me more. So we've changed everything.
And you've sort of started rolling out the big network. I sat down with Jason.
Yeah, McMillan.
Yep, in Victoria here.
Yep.
Amazing program. You've only just started rolling that out, but is that basically the seed was 5 years ago, and now you're at a point where you've built this massive network all over the world?
It started
How,
out as a boutique consulting thing where we were helping people, and we would bring on several restaurants and we work with them, and we bring a few more restaurants and we brought on a chain, et cetera. And then it got to the point where it kind of got a little bigger and got a little bigger and got a little bigger. And then we got contacts and we worked with clients who had operations in different countries. And then I finally said, you know what, now's the time where we really need to be out there and blowing this thing up. And that's really what happened.
what was the driver not to keep it? What was the driver to blow it up past boutique? Was it just the call for it, and the people who are asking is at more and more and more? Because how many countries you're in now? Because you're based here in Canada, but how many countries is it available in now?
8.
Wow. Was it a slow burn, or was it 0 to 60? Because like from the seed 5 years ago to now, like that's 5 years that's still pretty quick in the business world. But was it a slow burn, or did it just all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you're like, ah, shit, we've just blown this thing up way further than I expected?
Well, it was a slow burn at first because when we started, it was Vancouver centric, right? And of course, everybody thinks if you're in Vancouver, you're almost a townie, right? And they're like, oh well, you know, we're dealing with this association and we're working with that association. I'm like, yeah, but they're not offering this stuff. They're not here to help you day to day, right? That's not what they're doing for you, right? So it kind of built into that, and then it just got into more conversations with people from, and I'll tell you, Australia blew up really big for us in a really great way. And I'll tell you something else that just happened for Australia in a minute. But the Australia really happened in a big way for us. So we had contacts there, contacts in Canada, contacts in the US. We work with an organization called ALSD in the US, and they're the top 3 tiers of professional sports. So we're their call center, we're their concierge service. We have, so that's Major League Baseball, that's football, that's NASCAR, that's Kentucky Derby. So there's stadiums in every location. So we've been with them for 3 years now. And it's just been a really cool thing.
So before we keep going on, like for the listeners at home, Real Hospitality Network, give us your elevator pitch on what it actually is, just so, because I understand it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great idea. But for people out there who are listening for the first time, what's
it started out as as what I would almost say like a CAA card, where if you need help, you call us, and we have a 24-hour call center which is available anywhere in North America in case if you need somebody who has is the audio still there, because it's out on your end?
No, my audio is good now. It just dropped out a second. Okay,
cool. So so I jokingly say it's like a CAA card, and then now it's become a Black Amex. So we started with the call center to be able to help people out, and now we've added all kinds of different things. So with it, we have different levels of membership. One is our professional membership, which is for everybody who works within the industry. So it is bartenders, line cooks, managers, assistant managers, everybody within that. And within that, we've got for those people, we have everything from a training academy, which we've partnered with several different operations around the world. So very, very good schools. We've also have a insurance program, which is available, which we've helped customize. And with that, it's fantastic. So on average, for $86 a month, a bartender or a server, regardless of how many hours they work, can get optical, dental, and prescription drugs, all through our program, which they can't access unless they're members. It's only $60 to become a member as a like a server. Wow. So they get access to that, and that's $60 for the year. So, and that doesn't matter if you work for Bob's Burgers and Bob goes out of business, or COVID comes and Bob furloughs you and cuts off your benefits, which has happened to lots of people. You can get involved in this program. So we also have a career platform, which is launching next week. So it's going to be so that workers within the industry can come on and do a 60-second video and say, hi, I'm Chef Jason McBride. My specialty is this. I'm 35 years in the industry. I see my resume as this, and you can actually see if somebody has cleaned themselves, if they're well spoken, if they are all the things you want to know. You get a feeling for before you bring them in for an interview. So, and for operators who are members with us, it's $50 a month to have unlimited access to that, which is amazing. So we've had that
Wow.
custom designed through an HR company that does IT recruiting, and then we work with them to customize that for that part of the industry. And then we work with Food Buy, which is everywhere across Canada, and with our partnership with them, I mean, is amazing. They've done a deal with us so that with our members, if you have a certain percentage, or if you have a certain amount of food purchased through your year, they'll actually buy your membership if you stay on with Food Buy for 3 months. So they'll pay for the operator's membership, which is $225. And then we also have something that's coming up, should be by I think we're only 2 weeks away. So, and I hesitate to talk about it, you know what, but let's do it anyway. So we've signed. No, I've already signed it. So we are, I'm going to tell you, I was sitting having dinner with my partner last night, and I was just vibrating, and I said, this is so timely, because right now Quebec just shut down yesterday. People are scared to death in Ontario. People are freaking out in BC. This is where everybody has to figure out how they're going to deliver food if we shut down again. And we just signed a exclusive access to Ritual One delivery platform for Canada, the US, and Australia. So you can't get it unless you get it through us. And with that, rather than being choked to death for 25 to 30% on other platforms like Skip the Dishes and Uber, we are $39 a month as a subscription. And it goes up to $49 in 2021, but for the first 3 months, it's $39. And then I think it's like 2.4% transaction fee in 2021. So that's your credit card transaction.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're back.
Okay.
We're there.
Okay.
That's incredible. Okay, so my big thing is that I think you've been obviously seeing deficiencies in the industry for longer than a lot of people. And I think that's a big issue, because I find, especially COVID, everybody likes to complain. Everybody's like, well, that's wrong, or that's busted, or da-da-da-da, but no one really actually wants to actively do anything that changes the game.
Right.
What was the motivation to like wake up on mornings like, I'm done with this rubbish, this antiquated thinking, these systems that obviously do not work, like, how do I add some technology to it? Because I know a lot of chefs out there still are very, very skeptical on even ordering from GFS and Cisco on the online platform.
Yeah.
Like, even on the online platform, like, they still like to write it out on their thing and make a call to the rep.
Yep.
Because obviously there would have been a lot of naysayers all the time, all the way through, saying, what are you doing? We're fine. And I think the we're fine thing always comes up. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're good. We're fine. And this is all pre-COVID. Now everybody's a little bit more enlightened about how the industry is. How did you sort of keep that motivation, that confidence, and that patience going forward in the very beginning?
I think a lot of people would say, "Oh, I've got a guy who does this, or I've got a guy who does that," and I always would jokingly say, "Okay, well, so you've got a guy who's, let's just say for a plumber, for example, and say, oh yeah, I got a guy who's a plumber." I said, "Okay, so what happens if you call Bob, your plumber, and he's not available till next Thursday? Going to close? No. Okay, well, what are you going to do?" I said, well, what you can do is you can pick up the phone, call our call center, and we'll get you 3 plumbers who can give you 3 quotes and let you know if they can come within the hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. So is that worth $225 for the year to you? Yep. So it's common sense. And I mean, now that we're in COVID year, we've blown up because everybody's looking for a solution to all kinds of different problems, right? So a solution to the bottom line, solution to, to benefits programs, to solutions to rebate programs that they never knew existed because their Cisco rep won't tell them about it. And, things like Career Connect, which we designed. I mean, that's going to be a huge deal because, again, people are looking for work. And then there are lots of clients who are hiring right now. Mm-hmm. I was just on a panel thing just last week with a bunch of different restaurateurs, and one of the guys in Vancouver that's got Boulevard Restaurant, JP Potters, he was saying, I've got my staff will only want to work 3 or 4 days a week, so here I am hiring. Mm-hmm. Well, the dynamic has changed. right? So there are people who are hiring and there are people who are out of work. Now, putting them together at a reasonable rate and being able to do that efficiently, that's what we're trying to do is help operators every day.
Do you think that's I've noticed that you've been very vocal, again, I think against the big boys, like you've been very vocal against the associations and
it's accountability.
The groups and the advocacy groups that are supposed to be helping the industry, really not going forward and being as aggressive. And I think I've talked to a lot of those bodies like BCRFA and Able BC, and I think they've done a great job. But I also think everybody didn't think this was going to go as long as it did.
Right.
Like everybody thought 4 weeks to 3 months was going to be like the way it was going to go. And now we're into 6, 7, 8.
Sure.
This is continuing. So being diplomatically correct in the beginning has sort of now bit us in the foot, because we've got like 10 p.m. closures in BC when we shouldn't be having 10 p.m. closures in BC.
Right.
So
who's outraged about that?
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm a BC guy. I mean, I live in Calgary right now, but I mean, I a ton of clients in British Columbia who are all suffering and all going, what the hell? And they all think that somebody should go and fix this problem for them. And the people who they've appointed or self-appointed to go and do this need to be held accountable for that, because they put themselves in that position, right? So I give props to Jeff Guinard from Able, who's a good egg, and he's been doing the right thing. And I saw his letter that he put together with a bunch of different people, and go in and say, okay, well, this isn't right. I'm representing the licensees in the province, and he's doing the right thing, and I give him props for that. And then I have issues with other people going and kind of hanging their hat on his work, and saying that they're the so-called voice of the industry when they're not really doing anything, right? I mean, BCRFA said, oh well, we went and helped to get this liquor discount thing. It was Jeff that got it, number one. It wasn't BCRFA. And the only reason why it actually happened on a temporary basis is because the government, who is not very popular anyway, is in an election year, and they set it as a temporary thing. So as soon as they find it's not going to be useful anymore, or that they don't want to carry it through, then they're going to take it away.
God, I hope not, because going to the liquor store now, I talk to my controller at the hotel, and I bring a receipt, and I'm like, this is a lot of fucking money on top of wholesale pricing that we've been paying for fucking decades and decades and decades. And like the entry level stuff, your entry level vodkas and stuff, it's a couple of bucks. Yeah. But when you start getting to that mid area where I live in, like I put an order up and I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be about $850. Oh no, $600. Oh, this is going to be about 1,000. No, 500. And I'm just like, I get it. To the general consumer, the mass market that the BC liquor stores cater to, knock yourself out. You got to make money. Yeah. But to restaurateurs, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, you've been shelling me out $7, $8, $9, $10 a bottle for fucking Tanqueray for the last decade. Yeah. I go through fucking 24 to 30 bottles of that a month. Here's the thing, that wasn't in place. That didn't always exist. It came in and it stayed. Right? So these organizations should have been fighting this hard for many, many, many years. And they didn't. And now they're saying, oh, well, we've done this wonderful thing for the industry. You haven't done anything. All you've done is said, hey, what would be a good idea if you did this and make you more popular in an election year, which you're about to have. So, and it's a temporary thing. If the government changes, what happens? Do they pull that out? Are you done with this perk now in October? Right. So, and there's been little more than that. Oh, okay. Well, let's open patios up. Well, whoop-de shit. We should have been open patios anyway. Right. And now the conversation is, oh my God, winter's coming in Canada. We should talk about opening patios. I'm sorry. I will give you $1,000 if you go around and talk to 100 women and ask them if they want to sit on a patio outside in Vancouver in the rain. Yeah. Not happening. It's not helpful. What we've done in Calgary, and I'll give props to, matter of fact, we were out last night. I give props to restaurants and pubs in Calgary, because what they've done is they didn't pull tables 2 meters apart. They put a divider between them. Yeah. Right. And you don't have to pull it apart. Guess what? They're not worried about winter coming because it's Calgary. They know it's going to happen. Right. Nobody's going to sit outside in minus freaking 30 in Calgary, no matter how happy you try and make it. Well, it's also the
So,
cost of putting patios in, even in BC here. Like
yeah,
everybody's like, oh, we can do patios. That's awesome. And the city councils have been good with free licensing and stuff like that. But like, it's still the cost of putting in a patio. Like you're talking about a couple of grand on
yeah,
the off chance that you're going to recoup that over a number of months.
right.
So I think we are getting to a stage, especially now that it is election year in BC. Like we're going to have an election in freaking 3 weeks,
Yeah,
to be a bit more of a sledgehammer instead of a hammer and a nail. Like I think that there needs to be a bit of a huge mass call out because this 10 p.m. lockdown has
oh,
crippled a lot of restaurants. I
it's
think it's going to be
ridiculous.
a lot of restaurants pivoted. I hate to use that word, but they
Yeah,
weren't normally open past 10 p.m. before the lockdowns, and then because of the lockdowns and the decreased thing, they extended their hours.
right. To
So
try and make an extra buck.
to make an extra bucks, and now they've been cut back, and it's like I've known some friends who lost 28 service hours, which is a
Right.
huge, phenomenal amount of money.
Yeah,
Like 28 service hours is absolutely massive.
yeah.
So
But whatever. I mean, we want to talk about that for a second. What other industry are being shut down at 10 o'clock?
100%. None.
Seriously, what other industry?
I
Right.
heard a I
So
heard an announcement today from Bonnie Henry, and bless her, I think she's done a great job. But school sports is on the table. Like, what's going to happen in fall for school sports? I'm like, okay, wait a second. So you're telling me that a bunch of kids can go out and play rugby with no problems in the world, but I have to still be 2 meters apart, wear a mask the whole shift, like be shut down by 10 p.m.,
yeah,
all this sort of stuff. But a bunch of sweaty teenagers can go and freaking play sports and play lacrosse and rugby union and stuff like that. I'm like, this makes no sense whatsoever. The focus is completely wrong.
my kids are in school. I have 3 kids in school right now, and they all go in, and they all sit in a classroom with 29 other kids, sitting not 2 meters apart in a desk, and they don't have to wear their mask in class.
Yeah, there's some I think the hospitality industry, I think
Is
I had the BCRFA put out a survey yesterday, and I think the biggest thing is that I'm hoping the government has realized how much GDP we bring in, how many people are actually really employed by the hospitality industry. Because I think tourism bodies don't really understand the restaurant scene, don't understand that hospitality is a bit of a nucleus when it comes to all of tourism, hotels, rickshaws, transport, taxis, everything.
Yeah,
And without it, it doesn't exist, and the ecosystem starts breaking down.
yeah.
And so I've seen tourism bodies start getting on board with helping out restaurants. I feel like tourism bodies are always a little bit like they don't understand restaurants. They have
Where the
hotels.
hell have these people been? Right.
Yeah,
I made a post about that the other day. Some guy was saying that he had gone on there and he was happy to join the group of tourism industry and this tourism and BC tourism that and a matter of fact, I didn't realize that they had so many different groups, but I haven't heard a goddamn word from them since ever. The only time I've ever seen their name listed was when this guy listed that he had joined their group. Like what's going on? And I mean, BCRFA, sure, they are saying some stuff, and they've got some good people that work there, and I don't want to throw everybody under the bus there, but I mean, there are people there that work hard, and they've got their heart in the right place, and they're trying to get their word out. But I mean, if you are telling your industry that you're here to help them, that you're going to be out there fighting for them, you don't just show up for lunch once in a while. They should be, marching in the street. People should be on the lawn in Victoria, pissed off.
yeah, 100% agree. And I think slowly but surely, I'm hoping the government understands that, because the employment rate, I was actually talking to the BCRFA about just the understanding of how many people are employed, because there's a lot of part-time people, a dishwasher that works 2 shifts every 2 weeks, still an employee. So the understanding of the unemployment rate that's going to come out of these closures is just absolutely staggering. I don't think they really understand. Like, I'm on the board for a couple of charities, and every week I got to read through grants for people who have lost their job and need dental work, or have, like I read one yesterday, have diabetes and they can't afford medication because their hotel shut down, they lost their benefits.
Tell them to call me.
I will definitely do that.
I'm serious.
I'm going to write a note down for that one, because I think that might be something I might bring up with the team tonight. I've got a big call at 4:00.
We don't sell. Listen, Shawn, we don't sell the insurance, but we have a company that we work with that manages it, and that's what they do. And we partnered with them so that we could offer this to the industry, especially in times like this, right? So I mean, that's what we're doing. Is we're trying to help. We're trying to help the workers. We're trying to help the operators. We're trying to help the day to day, right? I don't give a shit who has lunch with John Horgan. What I'm concerned about is what's happening to all of these people, right? These people are my family too. I'm 35 years with these people. This is what we really want to do is we're there to help.
Yeah.
So, and I've worked long and hard. I mean, it took me 5 years to actually find an insurance company that was willing to help the hospitality industry, not just as a group benefits program, right? So, I mean, if you have people who are in need, for the love of God, send them to us. We can help them.
So, who do you look up to? I know that we've sort of I've seen posts from both of us. We both have our sort of mentors and idols and people we sort of follow, and who's the mentor that sort of pushes you to keep doing it? Because I know how it feels. Like, you tend to do all this stuff and then all of a sudden it's just like, is anyone listening?
Yeah.
Is anyone? It feels like you're banging your head against the wall. Like, goes back to that we're just fine mentality. Like, restaurant industry is always just fine. Who's someone that you like when you're having a rough day, you throw in your ear, or you text, or you call?
Grant Cardone.
So I knew you were going to say that.
Right. I mean, Grant's been on my show twice. Grant's a fucking lighthouse, right? I mean, he's not the tugboat, he's the lighthouse. He's, let's go and show by example. And his thing is always positive. It's always, how can you do more and get known? And you can only do great things. You can only be influential if you get known. And that's what I've done is to get known. I mean, sometimes that's going in and making people accountable and being the squeaky wheel. But you've got to put that in, and whether that's doing more posts on social media, making comments, making controversial comments that are holding people to account, or how can we help, and really getting in there and getting our hands dirty. I mean, for us, we've got right now, I think the number is around 55 reps across the country working for us, and they're all hospitality people. So, and by thinking about 30 days, we're going to employ 200 people across Canada, 500 in the US, and another 200 in Australia. So we're creating jobs. That's what we're doing, is we're trying to help in that way. And when I sat down and I thought, how the hell can we do this? And I've got Grant chirping in my ear, 10x, man, 10x, brother, 10x. And there it is. If I sat down, if I called him right now, that's exactly what he would tell me.
What's the plan for the next 6 months? So no, I don't want to take up too much more of your time today, but what's the plan for the next 6 months? What's your personal plan, and where do you see the hospitality industry being in the next 6 to 12 months in Canada?
In Canada, in the world. I mean, I'm speaking at the Russian Hospitality Awards on October 15th to 800 hoteliers. So it's a global conversation that we're having, right? I think in the world, we have to look back and see, what state were we in before we went into March? What have we learned? What are our best practices moving forward, and what can we learn from that? And from that, can we survive? How can we change what we're doing? How can we alter things? How can we educate each other on best practices as well? I mean, so I think hopefully, if we don't get a big slam of a second wave here, people are starting to get a little stability and learning what they need to do. But if we get that again, I mean, a lot of people are not going to be able to survive that second wave. So they really need to be doing things like looking at what are my real costs? Can I go into a delivery program? And that's the reason why we signed the North American and Australian deal with Ritual, so that we can help the industry. Mm-hmm. Right. So if your only outlet to be able to have your operation open is delivery, and it costs you 30%, the hell are you doing there? Go home. Right. Yeah. Go work for Amazon. Go get a job at the grocery store, because otherwise you're fucked. Right. But with this, you're not paying 30%. You're paying $39 for the month. So we can still hopefully keep businesses open that want to do delivery, and hopefully we can help people who need things like the benefits, and hopefully we can get people jobs through the things that we've set up. So for us, I mean, that's our big thing. And I mean, Ritual launches for us in about 2 weeks. So we have lots of operators who are calling us and saying, how can I be the first one on the list? How can I be the first one on the list? Because there's going to be, a couple days of setup time, of course, to get that underway. But I mean, people right now are watching Quebec having closed, Ontario having those conversations. BC will follow suit if they start to close and they see those numbers go up any higher. They're going to have the same conversation. They're going to shut down. So they need to have these things in place, and we have them there for them. So hopefully that helps.
Do you think, I'm going to round around again, so I was going to tie this all off, but do you think restaurants now should be thinking of a solid delivery plan? I talked about it when COVID
100%.
first hit, and I had so many restaurateur friends were like, oh, it doesn't fit with my brand, or my food's not to-goable, which I understand. Like there's some restaurants that can do it, but I'm like, if Avery in Chicago can do takeout food, I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah.
Do you think the consumer convenience it's just happened? Consumer convenience has been sped up 2 to 5 years. This was happening regardless. This was going to happen anyway. Do you think that without a solid takeout plan that a lot of restaurants are going to die?
Well, if they can't be open, then what are they going to do? Right? I mean, if they have enough money in the coffers to last another 6 months, then God love them. But if they don't, then they've got to look at things like putting meal kits together and all that type of stuff, right? Which a lot of people have been very smart about. But I mean, if people can't come and sit and give you money to sit there and eat your food, well, then the other option is what? Right? Is just take a look at your menu. Well, maybe we don't put a foam on the top of this and send it out for takeout. Maybe we take a look at reducing this menu down to 10 smart items that people can still they can still get stuff from us. Right? I mean, one of the restaurants that we love here in Calgary is called Hayden Block, and I mean they shut down for several months, and then on Easter weekend they were like, okay, we're going to be available for pickup, but you can only come to the window and you can call it in, and they got smart about people being able to come and get their stuff. And once word got out, people were lined up the block and they had already pre-ordered for the day. I mean, so they would make what they needed to make on a limited menu, and people would go and line up to pick up their food, and it saved their ass.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it. I'm hoping I'm going to put some links for the Real Hospitality Network in the bio and everything, so everybody listening can get links straight through to you. And obviously, you'll see up on LinkedIn and whatnot in the next couple of weeks. Thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it, even though we were sort of bouncing around in our time zones.
Yes, I know. That's the fun thing about having about being global, is trying to figure it out. So
I've got to do a live stream at 8 a.m. in the morning in a couple of weeks, because it's after an announcement in London, the UK.
Right.
So
I've got a client call at 4:00 this afternoon with somebody in Melbourne, and they're just getting out of bed.
Exactly. It's just constant back and forth.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shawn. Be well.